Are you desiring more out of life? More love, more connection, more experience, just more aliveness? Well, that is your soul calling you, and together we are going to uncover those soul desires and help you bridge the gap between your physical life and your true soul self. Welcome to the Suddenly Spiritual podcast. My name is Emily. I'm an intuitive, a psychic medium, and someone who recently and very suddenly awakened to spirituality. On this podcast, we are going to talk all about connecting with your soul to live your fullest, most beautiful life. We're going to talk about spirituality from the perspective of the everyday person. It's my goal that you feel seen and supported on this journey of discovering your soul and awakening to the incredible world of spirit. Let's get started. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Suddenly Spiritual podcast. This is Emily. I am excited to be here. So happy to be chatting with you again for another week. Recording this podcast has become one of my favorite things to do every week, and I'm just so happy that you're here hanging out with me, listening, and that you are into all of this spiritual, personal development, soul connection magic that I am also so deeply interested in and passionate about. It's so cool that we get to hang out and chat about it here. So thank you for coming back to another episode. This is your first time here. Thank you so much for tuning in here on the Suddenly Spiritual podcast. We talk all about spirituality, and we talk about it from the perspective of someone who has been a skeptic and is now suddenly spiritual, because that is my story, that is my perspective, and on this journey of becoming spiritual in a very unexpected way, I had a very sudden spiritual awakening. You can listen about that in the first episode if you are curious, but in that journey, so much has changed in my life. Absolutely so much has changed, and I have learned just so much about who I am, how I exist in the world, and how I can feel more fulfilled and more purposeful, and how I can live in alignment with who I truly am. And learning this has absolutely changed my life, changed my experience of the world. I'm not saying I'm some enlightened, perfect human. What I am saying is that I am growing and evolving, and holy buckets, things are so much better than they used to be for me. And that has really compelled me to be here on this podcast talking to you, sharing all of this meaningful, magical, incredible stuff that I have been learning, because I know that it will be impactful for your life too. I know I am not the only person who has gone the vast majority of their life thinking, I don't know who the heck I am. I don't know why I'm here. I know that I'm not the only person who has felt that way. And that's kind of what we're talking about today. For today's episode, I wanted to chat with you about discovering your soul. I spent a lot of my life trying to figure out who the heck I really am. I spent so much time searching and looking at other people and imitating them, thinking, okay, they're happy and successful, I'll just do what they do. And then I felt unsatisfied, unfulfilled. I didn't feel the purpose that I was looking for. I spent time trying out a million hobbies, trying different jobs, looking for different careers. Nothing I did gave me that feeling of fulfillment that I was looking for. Not even finding my amazing husband, not even having my children. Maybe that is kind of hard for some people to hear, that my relationships didn't provide me the fulfillment I was looking for. I think that's kind of hard to say as a mom and as a partner, that the fulfillment I need from life, I'm just not able to get it from the relationships in my life. It doesn't mean I don't love and value those people. It just wasn't it for me. I still had that feeling that there was a missing piece, something totally missing from my life. And in the last couple years, as I have stumbled into this spiritual awakening, that missing piece, you guys, I think I found it. I don't feel like something is missing anymore. I don't think I figured everything out, but oh my gosh, I am on the path. I am on my way there. My life feels purposeful. I feel fulfilled. I am feeling satisfied. I am happy. I just feel like I found the secret to the universe, honestly. And so today, what we're talking about that feeling where you don't know who you are yet. And I want to walk you through how I finally discovered who I am and the impact that that has had on my life. Before we get into everything today, I want to share with you that right now, for the month of September on Instagram, I am doing a weekly live workshop, a little mini workshop. My intention is for it to be maybe 15 minutes long. I'm doing this every Wednesday for September, every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern. You can come live and hang out with me, or you can watch the replay. And this month, the workshops are focused on exactly what we're talking about today. They're focused on soul discovery. And each week we are exploring a different aspect of discovering your soul and learning how to become more of who you already are. That might sound confusing, but it's not. It's not. It will make sense as you listen today and as you listen to the workshops. So I would love it if you followed me on Instagram, joined me for those little mini workshops. Today's episode will be kind of an overview of each of the topics we're going to talk about each week. But if you want the in-depth information, if you want some practices that you can actually do to enhance your experience of each of these different areas of soul development, then you should head over to my Instagram. It is at Suddenly Spiritual. Do people say at anymore when they say their Instagram account name, their Instagram handle? I'm not really sure. But I am Suddenly Spiritual on Instagram. You'll see my picture right there. Go ahead and find me, give me a follow, send me a message if you want, and I would really love to connect with you through messages, through hanging out on my live workshops, whatever you want to do, or if you just want to watch what's going on, that's cool too. I'd still love to have you over there. So let's dive in. Okay, we are talking about soul discovery. And I have already kind of told you why this is so important to me. This topic is so important to me. Discovering my soul, understanding how to connect with my own energy, how to connect with who I am, it has changed my life. It has taken me from someone who is constantly looking outside of myself for answers to someone who is confident in who I am. I am able to stand confidently in who I am because I finally know who I am. I really, truly did not know who I was for the majority of my life. And when I say majority of my life, I mean up until 2 years ago. And I'm 34. So for the first 32 years, I was spending my time searching outwardly, looking for someone to tell me who I was. Hint, hint, that's not the way you find out who you are. The way you find out who you are is not through someone telling you who you are. The only way to find out who you are is through your own introspection and your own realization of who you are. You're the only one who can discover that. So once I finally learned that, and I finally learned how to connect with the energy of who I am, love myself, accept myself, appreciate myself, that's when my life got really freaking awesome. really, truly. And now, even though not so much has changed physically in my life, really not that much has changed. However, internally, in the way that I feel, the way that I live, the way that I interact in the world, that has undergone just a huge transformation. And it's all because I finally discovered who I am, who I want to be, and I can feel confident in that. And I know that I'm not the only person who feels so disconnected from who they really are. And I lived with that feeling for so long. I thought of it as like my itchy sweater. If you've ever worn a sweater that is itchy, you just spend all day feeling uncomfortable, right? You're just fidgeting, like you're just stuck. You feel stuck and fidgety and itchy and uncomfortable. And that's how it felt to spend my life in a way that was not authentic to who I was. And at that point in my life, that's nothing that I could fix because I didn't know who I was authentically. I thought I was doing everything right, everything that I should do, but I was living my life based on external expectations and how the world told me that I should be, when it turns out I should have been living straight from my heart. But before you can live from your heart, before you can live from your soul, you have to know how to connect with your soul. You can't start living as who you truly are if you don't know who you truly are. And that was a missing piece for me because I'd read all about like be your authentic self. I'm sure that you have heard that verbiage. And I was like, okay, cool, but like, who am I? So we're going to talk about how to discover who you are. There's a step that comes before living as your authentic self, and that is discovering who you really are. So the first thing that I want to talk about when it comes to discovering your soul is getting accustomed to the energy of your soul and what it feels like to connect with your soul. When I talk about your soul, I am talking about the eternal part of you. I'm talking about the part of you that existed before you were born. It will continue to exist after your human body is done with this lifetime. It is eternal. And in this way, it is connected to God, source, universe, divine, whatever word you want to use. Your soul is the part of you that is God, that is divine. It is God within you. Now, don't get uncomfortable with me saying you are God. That's what I'm saying when I say your soul is God. I'm saying you are God. God is within every single one of us. I shouldn't say don't get uncomfortable. It's okay to feel uncomfortable. This belief, this realization is something that we don't often think about or talk about. The fact that God is part of us. God is part of everything, every being in the earth, everything that has been created is of the same energy of God. And my feelings about spirit, source, God, universe, divine, creator, whatever word you want to use, my feelings are that this is not like a dude in the sky staring at us and judging us, okay? Source, spirit, is an energy. It is an energy that we are all a part of, and our soul is our connection to that energy because it exists at the same frequency. It is the same energy as God. And the energy of God is so simple, so simple. All it is love. God is the energy of love. Spirit is the energy of love. And so the energy of your soul is love. It's so simple once you realize it. And I really want to point out and emphasize that your soul exists in the frequency of love, in the frequency of God, because as people who have experienced so much in this lifetime, we're not always comfortable with the energy of that pure, unconditional, unfiltered love. But if we want to connect with our soul, what we need to become more comfortable with is connecting with the energy of love, because our soul exists in that frequency of love. When I do a reading for someone and I see who they are at their core, at their soul, what I see is this incredible ball of glowing light that exists right in their heart, and that is their soul. And depending on the person, it may have a specific color, a specific texture, any of that may be unique to the specific person I'm doing the reading for, but always, 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 it is bright, it is shining, and it is love. It is at the core, pure, beautiful love. And so in order to connect with your soul, you need to start expressing love in your life, not to other people. What you need to do is start expressing love to yourself. We're looking to connect inwardly. And in order to have that connection inward, we need to show love inward. We need to start recognizing love within ourselves, because love within ourselves is spirit, is our soul. So the energy of your soul is love, is love. And the first step in connecting with your soul is becoming more comfortable and more aware of that energy of love within you. It's not a love that is given to you by anyone else. There is nothing external about it. It is just love within you. And this love is innate. It is natural. It is there, whether you recognize it or not. It is there all the time. To start strengthening that soul connection, what we can do is start sending love. You can close your eyes and just think and picture, I'm sending love to my soul. I'm sending love to myself. And you can picture a golden light, a white light, a loving, bright, vibrant light going into your heart. And you can intentionally try to feel the sensation of unconditional love. This is how we're going to connect with our soul, with our true selves, is through love and acceptance. It is very hard to trust yourself, to trust your soul desires, if there isn't that love and acceptance. So that is where I believe you should start. You should start with getting in the energy of love and focus that energy on yourself and on your desire to have that connection with your soul. Now, the next aspect of discovering who you truly are, of soul discovery that we're going to talk about, is trusting yourself. It is learning to believe yourself. If you're like me, you've spent the majority of your life trusting other people's opinions more than your own. You've maybe spent the vast majority of your life putting other people's advice and guidance and other people's definitions of what a successful life is, of what you should do, putting all of that information way above your own opinions, your own beliefs, and your own internal guidance. And so learning to trust yourself, if that's where you're coming from, can be really, really hard because you're not used to looking inward for answers. Instead, you're used to looking at the world around you. I know that a lot of times in the past, when I had a question, sometimes I would just go and ask everyone around me what they thought and try and get as many opinions as I could from other people to figure out what the right decision is. Sometimes that can be useful, but what it can also do is cause us to completely ignore our own internal guidance system, ignore our own inner wisdom. And we have inner wisdom. We all do. We all have a soul. We all have an intuition that we can use to guide us through our life. And when we learn to connect with that, to connect with our own inner knowledge, we're able to make decisions with confidence rather than constantly questioning if we're doing the right thing, constantly wondering if we should do something different, constantly changing our mind because we see somebody else did something in a different way and we should probably be doing that, and other people probably know better than us. I'm saying all of these things because these are all things that I used to do and I used to experience. But learning to trust myself and trust the information within me, trust my own thoughts and opinions, has completely changed things. It has completely flipped the way I live. I am no longer spending all my time absorbing everything around me. Instead, I am solid. I am making decisions from the inside out rather than making decisions from the outside in. I can picture it in my head. What I picture in my head when I say that is I see me standing, and then all around me in a circle are all these arrows of information like shooting into me all the time. That's how I used to make a decision. It was so overwhelming with all of that information, all of the things I should do coming into me. And then I try to make a decision based on that. Now it's different. Instead, there's me standing there and the arrows are going outward. They're going out from me. I am existing as something solid in this world, something confident. I'm able to know myself, know what I want. That doesn't mean I don't take advice from other people. It just means that I also consider my own internal wisdom and internal guidance as I move through the world. And like I said, if you have spent so much of your life asking everyone else for answers, it can be very scary to try and trust your own soul, to try and trust yourself, your intuition, your inner guidance when making a decision. But I really want to encourage you just to try and start with something small that feels safe. So maybe instead of asking what you should have for dinner, just decide what you're going to have for dinner. And when you make a decision, stand behind it. Just trust yourself to start making some more decisions in your life. And that is going to help you start feeling more confident in your connection with your soul because you're showing yourself, I can be trusted. I believe myself. I am worthy of having these opinions and then living them out in the world. A way that you can become more confident in this decision making and in this trust within yourself is first by understanding and defining that outer versus internal influence, like we were talking about. But also, what you can do is start to determine your inner values, your core values, what you believe, what is important to you. Start defining those and then refer back to those when it is time to make a big decision. Because your decisions should be made based on your internal values and your desires and your dreams and who you are and how you want your life to be. It should be based on that, not based on what other people are telling you to do, because their advice is coming from their life experience. It's coming from their desires. It's coming from their perception of the world. And every person on this earth is completely unique. Every person on this earth is meant for the exact unique miracle of a life that they are dreaming of. So there is no one else who can tell you what you should do to live a more purposeful, fulfilling, soul-filled life. That has got to come from within you. And so since it is really difficult to start listening internally as we first get started with connecting with our soul, something I really recommend that you do is start defining what your values are. What is important to you? What do you like? And this was really hard for me in the beginning. In the beginning, when I first started really connecting with my soul, one of the practices that I did every day for a very long time is I would open my journal in the morning and I would write my soul desires and then just make a list. Just make a list. And I would make a list of things that I wanted for my future and of things that made me happy in the moment. So you know that something is activating your soul. You know that something is a soul desire. You know that something is meant for you if, as you are doing that thing, as you are having that experience, you are in that state of pure joy and presence. For me, I really love gardening. And there are times when I can be outside in the garden. It doesn't matter if it's 100 degrees out. I can be out there working the ground, planting, pruning, like just taking care of my garden. And hours will pass and I'll have no idea. I'll have no idea how much time has passed. That is something that makes your soul sing. That is something that brings you joy. That is a soul desire, okay? Soul desires don't have to be like, I want $1 million and I want world peace. No, it is personal and it is connected to how you feel. So the things that make you feel good, the things that bring you joy, the things that get you in that soul energy of love, of pure, unconditional love. And if you've already worked on identifying that feeling of love, if you've already worked on trusting and accepting yourself, then defining these soul desires and these values are going to be so much easier. What I would encourage you to do is just sit down and just write, what is my soul desire? And write everything that comes to you, even if it sounds so shallow to you. That was always my concern when I started. Like, this is shallow and self-indulgent. Just whatever comes to you, write it down. And then you believe yourself. You trust yourself. You accept. These are things that make me happy, and I deserve to be happy. I deserve to have this soul-filled experience. It's that acceptance of who you truly are and what brings you joy, that is going to allow you to connect with your soul. It's like the more that you accept this information that is coming in, the more that you accept the way that you feel, the more that you believe and value the thoughts and the emotions and the things that come through as you connect with your soul, the more that you encourage that to continue happening. It's like a loop. The more love that you put into yourself, the more that comes out, the better you feel. The more value you put into yourself, the more you feel valued, the more you feel happy, the more your experience of the world starts to shift. So then the last thing that we will talk about in this series of little mini workshops is living from your soul. That will be the last workshop on the 27th. And when we talk about living from your soul, it's really about putting these things together that we have already talked about. Kind of what I just said, really. We've been talking about finding the energy of your soul, finding the energy of love, and allowing yourself to sit in that energy, allowing yourself to receive it and experience it within yourself. And then we talked about trusting yourself, trusting your opinions, your desires, your values, trusting your own internal guidance even more than you trust the guidance from everyone else. Because the truth is, only you will ever know what is best for you. Only you will be able to know that, because you are unique and incredible and amazing, and you have a soul that is totally, completely its own. It is not anyone else's. No one else can tell you how to connect with your soul. Nobody else can tell you who you are. No one can tell you what you want. So you need to learn to start trusting yourself and trusting your thoughts, your opinions, your decisions, and backing those decisions. We talked about decision making and how we are working on focusing on that inner influence above the outer influence, and how defining our core values and desires and trusting, believing, accepting those things is going to lead us to be able to make more soul-centered decisions in our life. And living from our soul means letting ourselves live in that love energy, letting ourselves explore who we are in a safe, loving, accepting way. It means making decisions based on who we understand ourselves to be, allowing space for growth, allowing space for curiosity, and allowing this feeling of love, this feeling of being supported, this feeling of being whole and being understood, allowing that to just be expansive and to fill our lives and start living from that place. Start living from that place. Living from that place is that image I told you. Living from that place is you standing in the middle with arrows coming out of you rather than a million things coming into you. It's you walking through the world as a solid person, not as someone who is swayed and pushed and bumped around by everything around you, but someone who is solid, who trusts themselves, who loves themselves. At the basis of all of it is love, is that divine, eternal, non-judgmental love. The love you don't have to earn, the love that you can never lose, you can never get more, you can never have less. It just is. And that's at the basis of who you truly are. And so it's really at the basis of this whole soul connection, is developing that beautiful internal love, that self-love. So throughout the month, with each of these topics, we're going to dive deeper each week into all of them. I'll provide you with practices and with teachings, examples, everything that I can to help you start discovering who you truly are and learning how to integrate that into your physical life, into the life around you. Like I said, this topic is so important to me because it is so transformative. I feel like this is the key to everything, the key to success, love, relationships, happiness. It's all here. It's all in the inner work. It's all in the dedication and intentionality and discovering who you truly are and deciding to live from there. And what I want to leave you with, what I want to emphasize more than anything else, is that you will not find who you are outside of you. You will not find it in another person. You will not find it in a job, in a hobby. You will not find it in the advice from anyone. Only you can say, can learn, can discover who you are. Nobody can do it for you. Nobody can tell you who you are. That is up to you. And it starts with love. It starts with trust, belief, acceptance, but it all starts inside. Okay, my friend. I hope this episode has been helpful. I hope you have a better understanding of how to more deeply connect with yourself. If you have any questions, if you want to go deeper, like I said, find me over on Instagram. My handle is Suddenly Spiritual, and I would absolutely love to chat with you there. All right. Have an amazing day. I'll talk to you next week. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Suddenly Spiritual podcast. I'm so grateful that I get to be part of your journey of spiritual expansion. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you would leave a review for me on Apple Podcasts. It's a quick, free, easy way for you to support this podcast, and it helps me reach more people who are looking for support on their spiritual journey. You can find a link to leave a review in the show notes. Thank you so much, and I'll chat with you soon.